So how do you get from a first draft to finished one? Find out in this video series, Finishing with Proofreading. I'm Iris Marsh, and if you don't know me, I help indie authors with their manuscripts so they can publish with confidence. And in this final video in this series, I will explain what proofreading is and some tips and tricks on how you can do this yourself. So let's get started. Alright, so let's start with a short recap of what proofreading is. So it's the final check for publication. So after the copy editor has had a look at the manuscript, everything is cleaned up. So all the errors and all the text changes are accepted or declined. Then the document goes to the typesetter, and then the typesetter will create the layout, and create the page proofs with all the necessary formatting and the also the right fonts for all the chapter headings, chapter titles and stuff like that, italics, all of that stuff, page numbers, running heads, all over there, just as it would be in the actual book, so that you can check not only the language, if there are any errors left, but also if you're happy with the layout of it. You can check for orphans and widows, stuff like that. If the running head is consistent everywhere, if there's any error in the pagination, if you like the font for the chapter headings, stuff like that as well. So what proofreading is all of that, but also checking for small errors like punctuation errors, typos, spelling errors, and those things. And like I said, also the formatting and the layout of the final proof. So this usually happens in a PDF, and these days used to be that, as with all editing, it was done on a hard copy, but now it's usually digitally on a PDF, and they will just mark the errors and put in a highlighted comment usually. But these days, with self-publishing, things are a little bit more flexible. So some editors for that reason also call it proof editing, and they will actually proof edit on the Word document instead, using track changes, and offer a little bit more than just those small errors, because that's usually all you can capture in the PDF format, and that's then usually, it blurs the line a bit more with copy editing. So they might also check for grammar errors that are there, some inconsistencies, check for consistency for character names, stuff like that as well. So if you want to do your own proofreading, here are some tips and tricks. So what I would do is format the book as you would for print to have the most out of it, so the most overlap also with the original proofreading, and then print out the book and read it on hard copy and make changes. I do it this way as well, as you can see here, because you've read the story on screen like multiple times, and after a while your brain kind of gets used to it, so it stops seeing the errors. Like it knows what it says like on the screen, so your brain will fill in the details, and you're less likely to notice the small errors especially. So when you print it out, it's a different kind of format for your brain, especially if also the font's different and stuff like that. So to the brain, it's like something new to read, and this will make it a lot easier to spot the errors. However, if you don't want to print it out for any reason whatsoever, you can also load it into KDP, which is also a pretty cool thing to do, because then you can upload it to KDP with your cover and then order a proof copy, So you will get the proof copy of your book, and you can check instantly whether you need to make any changes in the layout in that case as well, because you can actually see it in the book. You can proofread directly in the book, or if you don't want to do that either, you can proof it digitally in Word, but I would suggest to change the font into something very different than what you used before, so that it's newer to your brain, for the same reason as why I suggested to print it out in hard copy. And always refer to the style sheet you created during your line and copy edit. So if you can, also print that one out and keep it close by. And if you do encounter some new words that you didn't catch during your copy edit, line and copy edit, then you can just add any words to your word list with a pen. Usually there's space for that as well. So some common errors to look out for in proofreading is missing space between words, because this can happen very quickly if you line and copy edit in Word with track changes. Sometimes the edit you make deletes a space by accident, so you get the she was instead of she was. There can also be some lingering inconsistencies, for instance with your hyphenation of words, which is always a tricky thing, especially with compound adjectives and the like, or inconsistency with the capitalization of words. Usually if you use something like Pro Writing Age, you can do this consistency check, and usually it will catch any inconsistencies you have in hyphenation or capitalization, but it can't hurt to check the instances of your words and see if you've hyphenated it throughout. Editors also use this software called Proofreading, but that is software specifically for editors, although you can of course use it as a writer as well, and that one also checks for inconsistencies, so you could do that digitally. Another common error is missing punctuation or added punctuation, I must say. So a missing or an added comma, period, or quotation mark that should be there or shouldn't be there. Typos, we've all been there, pun intended. That happens a lot. Homonyms, also a common error. So those are words that sound the same, but they mean something different, like there and there. So you should look out for those as well. I had one in my manuscript as well, I thought, but I don't really remember where it was. Doesn't matter. Or there could also be an error in formatting. For instance, a word that's only partly italicized. For instance, if you decided on italicizing after you've written the word and you select it, you select the word, highlighting it, and then you click the Control-I to highlight it, but accidentally missed a part of the word. So you get something like amazing with only amazing in italics. Or you have something in italics that shouldn't be, for instance, or there's an error in your running head. For instance, like the chapter name it shows is wrong, or you don't want it to show the chapter name at all, and it's there. Stuff like that are usually pretty common, something to look out for. So let's see some examples. I have, like I showed you, my own manuscript here, like it's quite a few pages, so I will make the screen bigger so you can see it more easily. Okay, so I see the camera actually mirrors the text. I don't know how to fix that, but I'll just walk you through it. So here, this is a page of chapter 1, and for instance here I made a difference by correcting the capital P of people to a lowercase, because this is actually a continuous sentence. But when the rules and consequences come into play, ... people get hurt. So people get hurt is actually not a new sentence. And then I also made a change here. It says preposterous. And I made this weird arrow to indicate to have this line here moved behind preposterous because it makes more sense. And sometimes I also make some larger changes if it makes more sense to me. So for instance, this sentence said, opening the door, 6 faces look back at me as I enter the living room, when it's a bit more concise, in my view, to say, as I open the door to the living room, 6 faces look back at me. And you know, sometimes I also had, like I said, if I have a compound adjective with a hyphenation I'm not entirely sure about, I will just put a line underneath it and say check. So I'll know that by the time I implement this into the digital file, I will check this. And then the other page, I also often remove things that I think are redundant. So here I made from the faint scent of coffee mixed with the one from Fred's Cotton and Candles made my stomach churn as much as the pulp of tension in room. I removed the resulting scent and just combined it as a sentence. Or here I made a very clear mistake, as it says, Fred's smile didn't read his eyes, which should be reach, of course. And here I also made a change, so I just removed the sentence and scribbled next to it. Because the part of the sentence was, I wasn't sure if I wanted to help them to something a bit more colloquial. I might have walked away. To be a bit more true to the character's voice. So here I have another example. So like I said, here also I have the hyphenation thing. With check underneath, this is top 40 pop. And when I checked it, it's actually without a hyphen, so it's a good thing to do sometimes. And here again, I crossed something out. So it says substituted by, when I thought, well, it's more natural for my character to say replaced with. So I changed it there as well. So it's not all proofreading that I do. Sometimes because you actually look at it on a different format, your brain really does work differently. So sometimes you just have these epiphanies like, oh, but actually it should be this. Even if it's not just minor errors, and you can just, you know, it's your your story, your manuscript, so you can just cross things out and scribble next to it if you feel like it. Yeah, and here I have another change to make the sentence a bit clearer. So I had a little cringy mainstream in a lot of things, tidy, and above all, an amazing friend who cared about every single one of them. So I thought that every single one of them, I mean, it's clear, but it's also a bit strange in terms of the construction. So I changed this to, above all, an amazing person who cared about every single one of her friends. So it's clearer that way. Yeah, and that's essentially kind of it. So here there was a grammatical error. So it's that I turning toward the direction, which doesn't make sense. So this is where you can see that sometimes errors slip in when you do copy editing, lining copy editing. So just change it to I turned. And here kind of something a bit similar, although it's not as incorrect. It's just, however, I wasn't sure if it was the case here, and I changed it to that. So I hope that gives you a bit of an idea. And sometimes the page is just, you know, clean. no errors, no changes. That happens too. Like, you don't need to have scribbles on each page. Sometimes it's just correct, and that's fine too. So I hope this gives you some idea as to what you can do with proofreading. Like I said, I would really recommend printing it out, but if for whatever reason it's not possible for you to do it, like I said, you can try ordering a proof copy through KDP, or otherwise do it on your laptop or computer, but change the font. Like that's really do something very different. So not a font that's similar, but like if you have a serif font, try changing it to sans serif, for instance. Like that it should be a noticeable change. Okay, and you know, after you're finished, you might still want to work with the proofreader to be sure that all the errors are gone, although it's very hard to achieve 100% accuracy. Like not even proofreaders can guarantee that, because a small stray comma can always slip through the cracks. And I often notice those very small mistakes in published works as well. So it's really hard to get that 100%, and you don't need to. Like if it's just 1 or 2 punctuation errors, it's fine. And if you have the budget for it, like hiring a proofreader is never a bad idea. If you hire a good proofreader, of course. And now that you've finished proofreading, you can also go on with the next step if you don't hire a proofreader, which is to either self-publish your book or query for an agent. Okay, so that's the end of this journey from first draft to a finished one. And if you like more tips on editing, you can sign up for my free self-editing course where you learn about each stage of editing and how you can do it yourself. So they feature some other tips and tricks that aren't mentioned on the videos here. And you can find the link to that in the description below this video. And for more information on the types of editing or some other self-editing tips or writing tips or whatever, have a look at my other videos. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to stay updated for more content. And thanks for watching.